So recently, Wuthering Waves has been under quite a lot of criticism for pretty much no reason. I mean, honestly, there actually hasn't been one kind of thing that has sparked this. It's just people that want the game to get better or to kind of improve it, and I think that's totally okay. But there has been a recent rise in a lot of creators kind of giving their opinions, whether that's on Twitter, on YouTube, or whatever, about Wuthering Waves, and some of it is starting not to make sense. Now, obviously, there's been a lot of content creators out there. For example, Smack, he made this video which pretty much aggroed a lot of the communities, calling out Genshin Impact, Honkai Star, and Wuthering Waves, saying that he wanted more cutscenes, which again, I think is a totally valid point. He gets straight to the kind of point and straight to what he wants, because obviously it's one thing saying I want Wuthering Waves to get better, but he actually goes, I want more cutscenes. That's the one thing that I think, will make Wuthering Waves better for me, and I think a lot of people did respect that, despite how much, kind of hate and stuff that he got for it. I do think a lot of people do respect that, there should be more cutscenes in pretty much every gacha game, because again, it makes it more exciting. But recently, one post and also an article kind of threw me off a little bit whenever it comes to opinions on gacha games, and also Wuthering Waves, which I wanted to talk about and go through to pretty much explain what is going on and going through whether these points could actually help Wuthering Waves to improve in the future and what they could actually be doing to improve their game in the future anyways. But before I get to this video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and also go to my Twitch where I'm going to be streaming live. I definitely recommend going over there. We'll be doing a ton of Wuthering Waves stuff and also some other gacha stuff as well. We'll be doing reacts, everything like that, so definitely look out for that, and yeah, go follow me so you get notified as soon as I go live. But let's get back into the video. So pretty much we had this tweet from EO here which said, how to bang a convo with some amazing creators about the roster of gacha games, but primarily Wuthering Waves' potential. A couple of key takeaways without digging into too much detail. Now this line right here, without digging into too much detail, is going to be a very important line as we go through this post. Now, let me just get this out of the way. I really do like EO. EO makes some really good content. Again, I think he got way too much flack whenever all that drama went down, and that's why I kind of stayed out of it whenever it did happen. Yeah, I think he does have some really good points, but in this overall tweet, I think he actually missed the ball on this one. Not to say that, this kind of ruins his credibility or anything like that. I still think that he is a very important voice for any gacha game, to be honest. I know he plays a lot of Xenophon Zero and everything like that. He also does some Honkai Star stuff, which is really great. But in terms of this point about Wuthering Waves, I just don't really see, how this could actually fix much. And obviously he says as well, they had a conversation with some creators, so maybe some of these points aren't even his points and that he's actually just bringing them up because creators have brought them up to him. And again, we'll go into that even more. But the first point says, Wuwa's downfall will be that of the community, public perception. If they continue down this path, criticism is not yours enemy. Now, I don't think this is a very important take here. Obviously, if you've seen a lot of games out there like Nikkei, stuff like that, they don't have a very big creator community. I mean, I'm pretty sure they are kind of talking about that in terms of creators and people that play the game. Now, obviously, it does help and it does bring a boost to the overall player base. And I think, honestly, Wuthering Waves creation is actually going pretty well at the moment, as well as all the people that are interacting with it. But obviously, I think, yes, there is a problem of people being like too obnoxious and stuff like that, and people having a negative feeling towards the game. But let's be real, it's not going to change anything. We've seen stuff like Genshin Impact, other communities like that, which do exactly the same thing. And guess what? They're still around. Genshin Impact's one of the top games still out there. And, they have one of the most toxic communities out there. The same could be said for, some other games as well. And if Wuthering Waves continues down that path, I don't think it's going to change anything. Now, would I like that to change? Well, obviously, yes. I think that, Wuthering Waves having a nice and friendly community would be very good for the community, because obviously we want as many people to be playing the game and not to be scared off by, people being very elitist or, not being very nice to other players. I don't really know, but, I don't think that's really a problem, and the criticism is not yours enemy. I think, I think people can accept criticism. I think there are some content creators out there that maybe can't accept it, but honestly, I don't think I could name one at the moment. I think, honestly, all the big ones at the moment, like Saint, I think he accepts criticism quite well, and he actually challenges it quite a lot, and also makes videos on, the downsides of Wuthering Waves. Obviously, we've seen Ryukyu as well talking about it. He talked about his downsides of Wuthering Waves, which again, I think is great. There's so many other Wuthering Waves creators out there who can take criticism and can point out the flaws in the game, which I think is a very important thing for people to understand, is that, there are, some people, obviously there are some people out there who can't take criticism, but I think the vast majority and some of the biggest, creators out there can actually take this kind of criticism. And hey, even me as a Wuthering Waves creator, I am fully open to criticism about Wuthering Waves, and I definitely think it can improve. Then they go on to say, figureheads of these spaces need to hold more accountability / acceptance in their power of voice and police and shame the community together. Again, I don't really know what that means. I don't know, by figureheads, do they mean like content creators, or do they mean actual like developers and like staff members at Kuro Games? Again, I don't really get what point that means. Now, I think it is okay for creators and also for the dev team to actually police the community. We've actually seen it recently with all the Game Awards stuff, so I don't think that's a problem either. A lot of this stuff is very vague on like what this actually means. Obviously, figureheads, we don't know, You know, I don't really, you know, everyone's a little bit confused by this. And I think if this point was like better made, I think it could be a better point. But again, it's kind of hard to understand. And then we go on to the next point saying S tier content that isn't reacts and guides, which I do agree with. I think there should be some better content out there. Obviously, I'm not the best example of it because I just, you know, release a lot of news and stuff, which, you know, could be considered slop by some because, again, there isn't too much effort that goes into this. I kind of just cover everything and try to keep you guys updated. The only kind of effort that goes into it for me is just staying on time and keeping the schedule going, and so that you guys can, you know, stay up to date. But in terms of other content, for example, you know, with Honkai Star Rail, they had like .exes by Roadkiller, which again was really, really good, and I thought that really helped out the community there. And I think that Wuthering Waves needs the same, you know, they need some more. I know Rogue actually made a couple of Wuthering Waves, but we haven't seen many in a while. So again, it would be nice to see some of those community-based things that are kind of S-tier content, and, you know, kind of seeing this stuff on YouTube, on Twitter, on whatever, because again, it'll give people more to react to than just like, you know, other reacts and stuff like that, which can kind of cause a lot of PvP, as we've seen in the past couple of days. They also say crew needs to get more directly involved with benefiting their creators. Again, I think they do. I've actually made whole videos about this. You know, there is a whole creator program, a whole creator contest and stuff like that for people to get involved in. And I think, I don't know if, you know, he's a part of any of this kind of stuff, but they do have, you know, stuff set up where they have, you know, made contact with creators. Now, is it the best one? No, they definitely can improve it. I think that, you know, kind of having more stuff going on with creators, incentivizing them to make more content would be better. But honestly, I think they do have a better system than Hoyoverse at the moment, because Hoyoverse, they've switched to using a website which feels just very non-human-like, whereas this, you actually get to talk to some people. I do think they are getting directly involved with benefiting their creators, but again, you know, some people don't feel that way, so maybe they should be doing it a little bit more. And it's still very, like, vague about, like, how to benefit them and things like that. So then the next point is saying Kuro is going to fail their vision if they don't quickly establish wuwa as its own thing, and not a Genshin plus XYZ identity. And to be honest, I don't really agree with this. I think the Wuthering Waves does have a lot of its kind of, you know, independent things that it does well on its own. And I think that, you know, holding on to this thing of, like, it's Genshin plus this is just, I think that's a mindset kind of thing on his end, which I honestly think that, you know, Wuthering Waves has a ton of unique kind of features. For example, you know, there isn't any examples here, so I don't even know what he's talking about. Again, it's kind of vague. But again, I think stuff like the TOA, you know, that's one that I've seen bought a lot. They go, oh, it's just the Spiral Abyss. Well, it does have a lot of differences to the Spiral Abyss, and it's actually had more inspiration from some PGR kind of stuff rather than the, you know, Spiral Abyss and things like that. Now, I do agree it is kind of similar, but still, they've still got different stuff. And the overall style, the overall story and everything like that, I just don't see it. You know, I think they have moved on from this whole Genshin thing. I think the only similarity at the moment to me is that it's an open world game with characters, you know? I honestly think that the open worldness obviously does make it seem a lot more like Genshin. And obviously they did take a lot of inspiration from Genshin because, it, you know, it's the most popular gacha game out there at the moment. But at the same time, I do think Kuro Games is working on a lot of their own systems, which I think is great. Now, obviously we can keep going, say most of the systems in wuwa have no real purpose relative to the game itself, which further separates the identity, i.e. multiple features inspired from other mediums, but not fleshed out enough for their own game. Again, I don't get that point as well. A lot of these points are very vague. This is the main thing that's in this post. Again, I'm just going to move on to the next one saying immerse the players in the actual game, not the concept of better than Genshin. Obviously, in the first months whenever it released, yes, because again, people were excited. People were like, oh boy, this is going to kill Genshin, which obviously it didn't, you know, it's not going to. But I don't think there is that kind of comparison kind of being drawn there anymore. I think there is like a few people, obviously, but not as much as I think people think there is. And then finally, we've got the last one saying wuwa is missing the glue to the system. Top 3 most important to the game problems. Again, I don't, it's very, very vague. Like, what is the glue? What's the glue? I don't know what that means. And then EO goes on to say, I'm hopeful for V2 hitting the ground hard and handling a lot of these issues that have been brought to light, as well as those that are major problems but the vocal majority has shunned. A lot of these can be solved with quickness, but takes effort and willing parties. Tons of people like to pull the wool over the eyes until they smell the house burning down. By then, it's too late. Now, again, I think this could be a good tweet if EO actually kind of fleshed out his ideas a bit more and actually explained it a little bit more. Because again, this is very, very vague, and I think that's the main thing to take away from this tweet and from this whole video, is that a lot of this has been very vague. Now, obviously, Ethan goes, yo, I'd love to talk about this off stream. You know, he's trying to find a little bit out more, and I would like to find out a little bit more. Maybe if Ethan can make a video or something like that, kind of explaining all of this. Again, this has got 300,000 views, by the way, so it's very popular and only 300 likes. That's a big yikes. But again, also we go down to Fob as well, saying, he says, EO, name the creators you talk to. You need to hear where these takes are coming from, which I do think is true. I think we need to know who these creators are. But then he goes on to say he's not naming on here for low IQ Twitter users to bitch and moan at them. I'll just DM you if you actually care about it. But again, I think that, you know, we should really know what the creators are, because I kind of get like kind of taking a lot of the blame for it, but at the same time, I'd like to see where some of these takes are coming from, because some of them are very vague. And if this is the entire take that they've given you and it's that vague, then I think there is some kind of explanation to be, you know, said to them to kind of improve their understanding of the game. But obviously, as he said without digging into too much detail, so I feel like he just kind of made it vague. So it would be nice to see maybe another post kind of clarifying everything that he meant, maybe with examples and things like that have happened. But again, I don't really know what we're going to see. I think that honestly, I do think that EO is a great creator, as I said, and, you know, I don't hold anything against him for this kind of stuff. I think that, you know, he still at least brought up some ideas. Honestly, I think the ideas should have been fleshed out a little bit more, and then after that, you know, then it'll be all good. But currently at the moment, it kind of feels like this is just saying a whole lot of nothing. And I think with a world where, you know, we got like Gacha Smack and people like that, you know, going into actual issues, explaining it in detail, and, you know, being very specific about what they want from the game, I think being vague like this, it kind of adds to the kind of feeling that people have with Wuthering Waves and trying to improve it, when there isn't actually any points to really improve it that much, you know? I think that if you go into detail a bit more, it would be better, so I'd like to see that. But let me know down in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you think that this was a good tweet and a good explanation? Or do you think that, you know, this wasn't as good as maybe you thought it would be? Because again, EO is a very, very good content creator, and I kind of expected a little bit more. But honestly, I don't even have time to go into this article, so I'm just going to leave it. Again, it's not really too much to do with this, you know, tweet anyways. But again, if you did enjoy this video, then don't forget to leave a like and subscribe. And also go to my Twitch where I'm going to be streaming live. I definitely recommend going over there. We're going to be doing a ton of Wuthering Waves stuff, as I said. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. That's all. See ya.